Well, hey everybody, welcome back to another Christian marriage podcast. This episode is going to be about the rehearsal, and it's going to be significantly shorter than the last episode that I posted. I didn't expect to go nearly 30 minutes with that last episode. So we're going to talk about the rehearsal, and I want to argue in favor of you having a rehearsal for your wedding. Okay, it's very important that you do that. And a lot of times people won't have a rehearsal because they think, oh, well, we know what to do. And we know where everybody's going to be. No, you don't. You don't know it. And if you don't have the rehearsal, you won't set it in people's minds where they need to be at certain times. And yes, a wedding is something of a performance. And if you want to calm the nerves of the folks that are around you, if you're the bride or the groom, you need to calm those nerves. One of the ways is repetition. They need to be comfortable with when and where they're to be, at what time, and what they're to do, and how they're to stand, and what they're to say. All of that needs to be rehearsed because it's important. The ceremony itself is very important, and you want it to be right. And you want everybody to be comfortable, and you want to get across the things that you need to get across for this covenant service. Also, there's no such thing as a perfect wedding. There is not. Please don't tell me that you're going to have the perfect wedding, because you're not. Something's going to go wrong. It always does. And I've seen weddings that have happened where they didn't have a rehearsal, and it was tragic. Some of the things that happened. And I've seen weddings where they've had rehearsals, and I've been a part of weddings. As a matter of fact, every wedding I've ever done, there's been a rehearsal for it. It's important to do it. As I said, there's not a perfect wedding, and one of the things that the rehearsal does is it sort of uncorks the pressure on the perfection bottle, okay? Because, you want everything to be in place at the right time. And sometimes you'll get to the rehearsal, which normally is the night before, and you won't have everything in place. I was a part of a wedding a couple years back where the men's suits didn't come in until the week of the wedding, and the groom at the rehearsal still didn't have his suit. And so you're having to make plans on the fly to correct things like that. I've been at weddings where the rings have been lost. Her ring or his ring. Usually it's her ring because it's the guys that lose it. I've been at weddings where the flowers have been all wrong, just not what was ordered. The cake didn't come in time. The flowers weren't ready. The flowers weren't even ready the night before the wedding. And so you have to make adjustments. And to have a rehearsal helps you to make those adjustments on the fly. And it's not just the bride that's trying to make it, or the bride's family, or the groom, or the groom's family. And it's not just the attendants that are trying to help make the corrections. You've got everybody in there, and they're all empathizing, and they all want to help. And so, everybody's pulling together as one at the rehearsal. So you don't have the flowers, what do you do? So you don't have the suits, what do you do? So you've lost the ring. What are you going to do if you don't have a ring? Well, at the rehearsal, you can decide, well, we'll do this. We'll substitute this. Instead of this suit, we'll have this suit. Instead of this color, we'll have another color. So, and like I said, it may not be your perfect vision of what the wedding should be, but you're still going to get married. And it's tragic. I say that loosely. It's not tragic, but it feels tragic. But actually, it turns out to be kind of fun, because years later you'll look back and laugh at that and say, "Oh, wasn't that interesting? Wasn't that wonderful how everybody pulled together and we ended up creating this beautiful ceremony, and it all came off just right and everything's fine." I've seen weddings. I was not a part of a wedding, but I was an attendant at a wedding of a friend's child. And they had the rehearsal. Everything was right. The flowers were right. The dresses were right. The suits were right. The cake was on time. Everything was going to be there. The rings were in place. Everything was going to be there. All the people were going to be there. They were going to have it outside. Well, the day of the wedding, it stormed. I mean, it rained. It didn't just rain. You talk about water. I mean, it let go. And so everybody who's outside in the seats has an umbrella. And even the umbrellas didn't keep you dry because it was coming down so hard that it was cascading off of the umbrellas into the laps of the people beside you or on top of their umbrellas and then into your lap. So it was awful. But you know what? That bride and the groom, they got married and they have something to talk about. I'm sure she was devastated that it rained that hard, and I'm sure he was hurt because his bride was so upset. But as they look back on it now, after 2 children and a successful marriage, I would say that they probably laugh at it and look at the pictures and think about that day and how many people loved them through all of that mess of water and mud and just being soaked. I have never in my life been so wet in my suit and tie. Never in my life. And we went into the reception hall afterwards, and it was just a steam bath because everybody was drying off, and it was just humid and it was still raining outside. So, I mean, we had that too. So your wedding won't be the picture perfect thing that you want, and that's okay. Maybe it will, but you need to have a rehearsal to go over all the elements. I talked about the elements in the last episode. So go back and watch that episode. You need to practice when they're going to occur, at the time they're going to occur, who's going to say what, where we're going to stand, how we're going to walk, when we come in, the music, if you're going to have music, that needs to be practiced as well. Everything needs to be in place. The ushers seating the mothers and the fathers and the grandmas and the grandpas, all that needs to be practiced at the rehearsal, just like you're going to have the service. So just go over every tiny detail at the rehearsal. And then once you've rehearsed, once you've, made ready for any contingency, you do that at the rehearsal. And then on the next day, or whenever you have the wedding after that, you're ready. You're ready. You know that it can be overcome. You know that you've already got a plan in place, and it'll be okay. You'll have your wedding, and you'll engage in the covenant ceremony, and everything will be wonderful. And you'll go on to the party and then on with your life. So please have a rehearsal. Do that for Pastor Dave, because if you don't, you will regret it. You certainly will regret it. You must rehearse your wedding. I'm so glad you're getting married, and I hope that these little videos have helped. Next time, I think we'll be on episode number 6 or 7. So I hope you come back then and watch the next Christian marriage podcast.